What if everything you've been trying to control is the reason you feel out of control? Think about that. The people who hurt you. The opportunities you missed. The unfair situations. The disappointments. The criticism. What if none of those things are actually controlling your life? What if the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the way you think? Today, we're talking about one of the most powerful lessons ever taught by the Stoics. Master your mind, own your reality. And if you're ready to develop the mindset of a Stoic warrior in a world filled with distractions, make sure you subscribe to Stoic Ascension for more timeless wisdom, mental strength, and self-mastery. Now let's begin. Most people wake up every morning and immediately surrender control of their minds. Before their feet even touch the floor, they check notifications. A message changes their mood. A headline creates anxiety. A comment ruins their confidence. A comparison steals their happiness. Without realizing it, they spend the entire day reacting. Reacting to circumstances. Reacting to opinions. Reacting to events. And then they wonder why they feel powerless. The Stoics understood something that many people still struggle to understand today. Your life is not determined by what happens around you. Your life is determined by what happens within you. The world can throw chaos in your direction. But if your mind remains steady, you remain powerful. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, faced wars, betrayals, disease, and immense responsibility. Yet despite all of this, he reminded himself of a simple truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Once you understand this, your life begins to change. Imagine two men standing in the rain. One curses the sky. He complains about the weather. He becomes angry and frustrated. The other accepts the rain. He adjusts his plans and continues moving forward. The rain fell on both men equally. But only one suffered. The difference wasn't the rain. The difference was the mind. This is where true freedom begins. Not when circumstances become perfect. But when your mind becomes stronger than your circumstances. A young man once traveled across the country seeking wisdom from an old philosopher. When he finally arrived, he asked a simple question. How can I find peace? The philosopher looked at him and asked, what troubles you? The young man spent an hour listing everything wrong in his life. His boss. His family. His finances. His past. His future. After listening patiently, the philosopher handed him a mirror. The young man looked confused. What does this mean? He asked. The philosopher smiled. The source of your suffering is standing right in front of you. At first, the young man became offended. But years later he finally understood. The philosopher wasn't blaming him for his problems. He was teaching him that his reactions, beliefs, and interpretations were creating much of his suffering. Many people spend their lives trying to rearrange the world. Stoicism teaches us to rearrange our minds. And that changes everything. One of the greatest mistakes people make is giving other people control over their emotions. Someone insults them. Their day is ruined. Someone criticizes them. Their confidence disappears. Someone ignores them. They become anxious. But ask yourself something. Why should another person's words determine how you feel? Why should someone else's opinion have the power to control your peace? The Stoics believe that emotional freedom comes from refusing to hand over the keys to your mind. There is an old story about a wise teacher who was known throughout the region for his calmness. One day an angry man approached him in public and began shouting insults. The crowd expected the teacher to become angry. Instead, he stood quietly. The man shouted louder. Still nothing. Finally, frustrated, the man asked, "Why aren't you responding?" The teacher replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to accept it, who does the gift belong to?" The man answered. The person who offered it. Exactly, said the teacher. The same applies to your insults. The crowd fell silent. The teacher understood something most people never learn. Not everything deserves a reaction. Sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. Your thoughts shape your reality far more than you realize. Every action begins as a thought. Every habit begins as a thought. Every success and every failure begins as a thought. If your mind is constantly filled with negativity, fear, and self-doubt, those thoughts will eventually shape your actions. And your actions will shape your future. There was once a farmer who had 2 sons. Both grew up under the same roof. Both faced the same hardships. Both witnessed the same struggles. Yet their lives turned out completely different. One became disciplined, successful, and respected. The other became bitter, angry, and self-destructive. When people asked why their lives were so different, both brothers gave the same answer. My childhood. One used his past as motivation. The other used it as an excuse. Same circumstances. Different mindset. Different reality. The lesson is clear. Your circumstances may influence you. But they do not have the final say. Your mind does. The modern world worships comfort. People want shortcuts. Quick success. Instant gratification. Easy solutions. But the Stoics viewed comfort differently. They believed excessive comfort weakens the mind. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you become stronger. Every time you do what is necessary instead of what is easy, you gain power over yourself. There was a young athlete who dreamed of becoming a champion. Every morning before sunrise he woke up and trained. While his friends slept, he worked. While others looked for excuses, he looked for opportunities. Year after year he continued. The process was difficult. Many days he wanted to quit. But he kept going. Eventually he became a champion. People called him talented. Some called him lucky. But they never saw the thousands of mornings when he chose discipline instead of comfort. The victory wasn't won on the day of the competition. It was won in the quiet moments when nobody was watching. That is the power of discipline. It creates a life most people only dream about. Many people spend years trying to avoid challenges. They pray for easier circumstances. Less difficulty. Fewer obstacles. But the Stoics saw obstacles differently. They understood that challenges are not barriers. They are teachers. A blacksmith once worked with an apprentice. The apprentice watched as steel was heated in fire, hammered repeatedly, and returned to the flames. It seems cruel, the apprentice said. The blacksmith smiled. Without the fire, the steel remains weak. Life often works the same way. The hardships you face today may be creating the strength you need tomorrow. The challenges you wish would disappear may be preparing you for a future you cannot yet see. Every difficulty contains an opportunity. The question is whether you will focus on the pain or the lesson. One of the most liberating ideas in Stoicism is understanding what you can control and what you cannot. Most anxiety comes from trying to control things that were never ours to control. The economy. The weather. Other people's opinions. The past. The future. These things exist beyond our reach. Yet people spend enormous amounts of energy worrying about them. A sailor once found himself caught in a violent storm. The waves were enormous. The wind was relentless. He couldn't control the sea. He couldn't control the storm. But he could control how he handled his ship. So he focused on what he could influence. And eventually he reached shore. This is the Stoic way. Focus on your actions. Focus on your effort. Focus on your character. Let go of everything else. The moment you stop fighting reality, you gain access to a deeper sense of peace. Attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Yet most people give it away freely. Every notification, every trend, every argument, every distraction. The world constantly competes for your attention because attention creates direction. Whatever receives your attention eventually influences your life. A wise mentor once took his student to a river. Without warning, he pushed the student's head underwater. The student struggled desperately. When he finally surfaced, gasping for air, the mentor asked, "What did you want more than anything while underwater?" "Air," the student replied. The mentor nodded. When you focus on your goals with that level of intensity, nothing can stop you. Most people fail not because they lack ability. They fail because their attention is scattered. Master your attention and you begin mastering your life. Another lesson from Stoicism is learning to stop seeking validation. Many people are trapped in an invisible prison. The need for approval. They want everyone to like them. Everyone to admire them. Everyone to agree with them. But this is impossible. No matter what you do, someone will criticize you. There is an old story about a father and son traveling with a donkey. As they walked beside it, people mocked them for not riding. When the son rode the donkey, people criticized him for making his father walk. When the father rode, people criticized him for being selfish. When both rode, people criticized them for overloading the animal. Eventually the father laughed. No matter what they did, someone had an opinion. The lesson is simple. You cannot build your life around the expectations of others. You must build it around your values. When you stop living for approval, you begin living with freedom. Fear is another force that prevents people from owning their reality. Fear of failure. Fear of rejection. Fear of judgment. Fear of uncertainty. But the Stoics understood that fear often exaggerates danger. Most of the things we fear never happen. And even when they do, we are usually stronger than we imagined. A young soldier once stood before his first battle. The night before, he couldn't sleep. His mind was filled with terrifying possibilities. The next day, after the battle ended, he realized something surprising. The fear before the battle had been worse than the battle itself. Many people suffer more in imagination than in reality. The mind creates monsters where none exist. Master your fear and you reclaim enormous amounts of energy. The Stoics also taught the importance of gratitude. This may sound simple, but it is one of the most powerful mental practices available. Most people focus on what they lack. The promotion they didn't get. The money they don't have. The opportunities they missed. As a result, they feel constantly dissatisfied. A wealthy businessman once complained endlessly about his life. Nothing seemed good enough. One day he met an old fisherman who owned very little. Yet the fisherman was genuinely happy. Confused, the businessman asked him how. The fisherman replied, "Every morning I wake up grateful for what remains instead of complaining about what is missing." That answer changed the businessman's life. Gratitude does not ignore problems. It simply prevents problems from becoming the only thing you see. Life is temporary. The Stoics reflected on this truth often. Not to become depressed, but to become awake. When you remember that time is limited, trivial concerns lose their power. Petty arguments become meaningless. Unnecessary drama becomes irrelevant. You begin focusing on what truly matters. An old man once sat beneath a tree with his grandson. The boy asked, "What is the most valuable thing in life?" The old man pointed toward the setting sun. "Another day." The boy looked confused. The old man smiled. When you understand how precious time is, you stop wasting it. Every day is a gift. Every moment is an opportunity. The Stoics knew this. And that awareness gave them urgency. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not against other people. It is against yourself. Against laziness. Against fear. Against anger. Against doubt. Against the voice inside your head that tells you to quit. This battle happens every single day. And every choice matters. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you win. Every time you choose courage over fear, you win. Every time you choose wisdom over impulse, you win. These victories may seem small. But over time they create extraordinary results. The strongest person is not the one who can defeat others. The strongest person is the one who can master themselves. As we come to the end of this message, remember this. The world around you will always change. People will come and go. Circumstances will rise and fall. Success and failure will visit every life. But there is one thing that remains within your control. Your mind. Your perspective. Your response. That is where your power lives. Not in controlling every event. Not in forcing life to follow your plans. But in developing a mind so strong that no circumstance can break it. The Stoics understood this truth thousands of years ago. And it remains just as powerful today. Master your thoughts. Master your emotions. Master your habits. Master your character. Because when you master your mind, you stop becoming a victim of reality. You become its architect. You become calm in chaos. Strong in adversity. Focused in distraction. And unstoppable in pursuit of what truly matters. There is a reason why some people remain calm when everything around them is falling apart. It is not because they have easier lives. It is not because they have fewer problems. It is because they have trained their minds to see challenges differently. Most people believe confidence comes before action. The Stoics knew the opposite is true. Confidence comes from action. You do not become confident by thinking about being confident. You become confident by doing difficult things repeatedly until they no longer intimidate you. A young man once wanted to learn how to climb mountains. Standing at the base of a massive peak, he felt overwhelmed. The summit seemed impossible to reach. The distance was enormous. The climb looked dangerous. For hours he stood there wondering whether he should even begin. An old climber noticed him and asked, "Why aren't you moving?" The young man pointed toward the summit. "It's too far away." The old climber smiled. "Then stop looking at the summit." The young man looked confused. The climber pointed to the ground. "Focus on the next step." Years later, the young man became a skilled mountaineer. And he never forgot that lesson. Most goals are not achieved by obsessing over the destination. They are achieved by focusing on the next step. The next workout. The next page. The next conversation. The next disciplined decision. Master the step in front of you and the future will take care of itself. Many people are trapped by their past. A mistake they made years ago. A failure they cannot forget. A betrayal they cannot forgive. A version of themselves they no longer want to be. But carrying the past everywhere you go is like dragging an anchor through life. It slows your progress. It steals your energy. It prevents growth. A traveler once carried a heavy sack filled with stones. As he walked, he became exhausted. An old woman watching him asked, "Why are you carrying that?" The traveler replied, "These stones represent every mistake I've ever made. I don't want to forget them." The woman nodded. "And how far have they helped you travel?" The traveler stood silent. The lesson became obvious. Learning from the past is wisdom. Living in the past is suffering. The Stoics believe that every moment gives you an opportunity to begin again. Not because the past didn't happen, but because it no longer has the power to control your next choice. The present moment is where your power exists. Not yesterday. Not tomorrow. Right now. Another reason people lose control of their reality is because they underestimate the influence of their environment. Your environment shapes your thoughts more than you realize. The people around you influence your standards. The content you consume influences your beliefs. The conversations you engage in influence your mindset. A young tree planted among healthy trees grows straight and strong. A tree surrounded by disease struggles to survive. Human beings are no different. There was once a young craftsman who wanted to become a master. Every day he spent time around skilled artisans. He listened carefully. He observed their habits. He learned from their discipline. Years later he became one of the finest craftsmen in the city. When people asked for his secret, he answered, "I became like the people I spent time with." This is why you must guard your environment carefully. If you surround yourself with negativity, negativity becomes normal. If you surround yourself with excellence, excellence becomes expected. Choose wisely. The Stoics also understood the importance of silence. In today's world, everyone wants to speak. Everyone wants attention. Everyone wants to be heard. But wisdom often grows in silence. A king once visited a famous philosopher. Expecting a grand speech, he sat and waited. The philosopher remained silent. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Finally the king became frustrated. "I came here for wisdom." The philosopher smiled. "And what have you learned?" The king thought for a moment. For the first time in years, he had sat quietly with his own thoughts. He had noticed fears he normally ignored. Questions he had never asked himself. Truths he had been avoiding. The silence had taught him more than words ever could. Many people are uncomfortable being alone with their thoughts. The Stoics encouraged it. Because self-awareness begins when distractions end. Spend time in silence. You may discover answers you've been searching for your entire life. One of the greatest sources of suffering is comparison. The moment you compare your life to someone else's, gratitude begins to disappear. You see their success, but not their sacrifices. You see their victories, but not their struggles. You see the highlight reel, but not the behind-the-scenes reality. A young artist became discouraged after seeing another artist receive praise and recognition. For weeks he compared himself relentlessly. Eventually he visited an older mentor. The mentor handed him a seed. "Plant this," he said. The young artist did. Days passed. Nothing happened. Then a small shoot appeared. Months later it became a beautiful plant. The mentor asked, "Did your plant grow at the same speed as every other plant in the garden?" "No," the artist replied. "Exactly. Every plant has its own season. Every person has their own journey. Comparison blinds you to your own growth. Focus on becoming better than you were yesterday. That is the only comparison that truly matters." Patience is another forgotten virtue. People want results immediately. If success takes too long, they quit. If progress is slow, they lose motivation. If rewards don't appear quickly, they become discouraged. But nature teaches a different lesson. A bamboo tree spends years developing roots underground before visible growth appears. Then, in a relatively short period, it grows dramatically. From the outside it looks sudden. But the growth was years in the making. A young entrepreneur once started a small business. For years he earned very little. Friends mocked him. Family doubted him. Many told him to give up. But he continued improving his skills every day. Eventually his efforts paid off. People called him an overnight success. They never saw the years of invisible work. The Stoics understood that meaningful growth often happens quietly. Trust the process. Remain patient. Keep showing up. The results will come. There will be moments when life tests you in ways you never expected. Moments when your plans fall apart. Moments when people disappoint you. Moments when everything feels uncertain. These moments reveal who you truly are. Anyone can remain positive when life is easy. Character is revealed during difficulty. A captain's skill is not measured on calm seas. It is measured during storms. A village once experienced the worst flood in its history. Homes were destroyed. Roads disappeared. Panic spread everywhere. Yet one elderly man remained calm. While others focused on what was lost, he focused on what could still be done. He helped neighbors. Organized supplies. Encouraged hope. Years later, people remembered him not because he avoided hardship, but because of how he responded to it. Your response to adversity becomes your legacy. Never underestimate the power of daily habits. Your life is not shaped by what you do occasionally. It is shaped by what you do consistently. A single workout won't transform your body. A single book won't transform your mind. A single disciplined day won't transform your future. But repeated over months and years, small actions become extraordinary results. There is a story about a stonecutter working on a massive rock. He strikes it once. Nothing happens. Twice. Nothing happens. 100 times. Still no visible change. Then on the 101st strike, the rock cracks in half. Was it the final strike that broke the stone? Of course not. It was every strike that came before it. Success often works the same way. Every effort matters. Every disciplined choice matters. Even when results are invisible. Keep going. As you move forward in life, remember this simple Stoic truth. You cannot always choose what happens. But you can always choose who you become because of what happens. You can become bitter. Or wiser. You can become resentful. Or stronger. You can become defeated. Or resilient. The choice belongs to you. Every challenge contains a hidden opportunity. Every setback contains a lesson. Every difficulty contains the possibility of growth. The question is whether you will see it. Because the quality of your life will always reflect the quality of your mind. And when you finally understand this, everything changes. You stop blaming. You stop complaining. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop giving away your power. Instead, you begin building an unshakable mind. A disciplined spirit. A calm heart. And a life directed by purpose rather than circumstance. That is the Stoic path. That is self-mastery. That is how you truly own your reality. And if you're committed to becoming stronger, wiser, and more disciplined every day, subscribe to Stoic Ascension and join us for more life-changing lessons from Stoicism. Until our next journey together. Guard your mind. Strengthen your character. Embrace the challenge. And keep ascending.